Hi, I'm going to do a retelling of a familiar story, Little Red Riding Hood. I've told this story before, so some of you already know who the characters are. I want you to think about who you think should be in the story. Of course, Little Red Riding Hood has to be in the story, and there's also her grandmother. And who else? What's another major character? Yes, I know. You're thinking about the wolf. All right, well, this story isn't called Little Red Riding Hood. It's called Carmen, which is another word for red. Carmen, A Little More Red by Melissa Sweet. Melissa Sweet is one of my favorite illustrators, and in this one, she also wrote the story too, both author and illustrator. Carmen, A Little More Red. She does something very clever in this book. She uses words to start each page from A to Z. And so it's a way to get to learn some new words, and I bet some of these words you'll even remember after the story's over. She uses a map to show here's Carmen's house and the road that she takes to get all the way up here to Granny's house. Oh, and by the way, that's where the wolf lives. Starting with the letter A is alphabet. Carmen had a beloved granny who taught her how to read by making alphabet soup. Carmen spooned the letters to form a word into her spoon. There's the word Carmen. And before long, Granny was teaching Carmen how to read, and she could read a whole bowl. Whenever Granny makes a pot of alphabet soup, she invites Carmen to lunch. Beware. On this day, as always, Granny told Carmen it was important to stay on the path and beware of dangers along the way. Here's her phone conversation with her granny. Hi, Gran. Oh, alphabet soup. Yum, my favorite. What? You heard a wolf howl last night. Okay, I'll be careful. Yes, I'll stay right along on the path. I'm riding my bike. All right. See you soon. Clutter. This is her desk. Carmen rummaged through the clutter and gathered up pencils, paper, paint, and anything else she thought she might need along the way to Granny's house. Okay, boy, let's go. Dilly-dally. Some people dilly-dally once in a while, but Carmen made a habit of it. Carmen's mother reminded her to go directly there, no dawdling. Don't dilly-dally. Your granny will be waiting. Bye. Okay, bye. Carmen and Rufus took off through the woods, and they rode up hills and down. They noticed there were some tracks. Rufus kept sniffing the air, but Carmen thought this looked like a safe enough place just to stop and rest. Exquisite! It was a clear morning, and the light was exquisite, and Carmen began to make a picture for Granny. Farther, she started filling her painting with color, but it seemed like she wanted to go farther, where there was more red and poppies in the distance. And so off she went. Green. Walking along, carrying her easel, Carmen noticed the sunlight flickered on the green grass, the ferns, the flowers. She made lots of sketches along the way in her notebook. Oh, she thought Granny would love her paintings. Haiku. Thinking of Granny, Carmen wrote a haiku. My Granny is plump. Her soup will make you want more. The secret is bones. Indeed. Meanwhile, Rufus noticed an odd scent in the air. Indeed, he knew a wolf when he smelled one. Sniff, sniff. Joke, Rufus was nervous at the thought of a wolf nearby. It was no joke that a wolf could eat a dog in one blink of the eye. And wolves would eat mice and other small creatures. And some of this book, they incorporate old other fairy tales like Three Blind Mice in here. knoll. By now, Carmen was far away on a knoll, and she could see Granny's house and even Granny's sheep in the distance. And she could still see Rufus, but just barely. Lurking. Most wolves practice the fine art of lurking. And this little bird is listening. Mimic. A mockingbird landed above Carmen's head. Mockingbirds are known for their ability to mimic all kinds of sounds, and this one was snarling and growling and licking its chops, and it even howled. This next word is a word that children like. Parents, sorry, but here it is in the story. Nincompoop. Everyone knows it is not nice to call someone or even a bird a nincompoop, but sometimes Carmen couldn't help herself. Pipe down, you nincompoop, she yells to that bird. Omened. The mockingbird reminded Carmen that her granny had heard of a wolf howl last night, and she wondered if this was the sign of trouble. She had a bad feeling, a bad omen. Pluck. Anyone else might have gotten the heebie-jeebies of the idea that a bird was making sounds like that. But Carmen had a lot of good pluck, and she rolled up her sleeves and just went back to painting. Rufus, however, was quivering. He heard a rustling noise in the bushes, which made Rufus shake and quiver. What do you think he heard in the bushes? Rufus reckoned that there was a full-fledged wolf in front of him, and he could tell by the large eyes, the big ears, the long nose, and the teeth. And Rufus was barking, woof, 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 woof. And the wolf could understand Rufus's barks, and he said things like, "You're going where? To Granny? And your friend too? And it's where? A little white house on the hill over the field, and Granny has sheep? Ooh, and she's plump, and Granny makes the best soup ever, and she does it with bones. A meal for me and my pups." Surreal. Rufus began to bark, and the wolf knew exactly what Rufus was saying. That's surreal. It must be because dogs and wolves come from the same descendants family long ago. So off takes the wolf past the little boy Blue, past the sheep. He heads, and there he is at Granny's house. Granny's in the window right there. And the sheep recognizes the wolf, says, "Bah!" And the bird is up there saying, "Bah!" too. And it took the wolf just a little while to get to Granny's house, they say. Oh my, trouble! As soon as Granny spotted the wolf outside, she grabbed the key to lock the door. She didn't want any trouble, but it was too late. "Look at the size of those bones," said the wolf. Granny screamed at the top of her lungs. Doors slammed and pots clattered. Wolf! Granny saw her kitchen turn upside down, and then all was quiet. Oh no, what do you think happened? Usually there are neighbors nearby, and they would have heard Granny's call for help. But the woodcutter, who was in the other Red Riding Hood story, he was not around. He was helping these 3 little pigs decide on building a house of sticks, straw, or bricks. And Carmen was just finishing her painting and saying, "Voila!" which means, in French, "There you are, you have it." And just as she was excited to finish her painting, she heard in the distance, "Wolf!" Oh no, worry. When she heard the cry, she was filled with worry. Carmen raced on her bike to Granny's as fast as she could. "Hang on, Rufus," she said. At X-ray. Now, superheroes have X-ray vision, but not our friend Carmen. She searched the house. There were footprints and things knocked over. She found Granny's glasses. Where do you think Granny is? The wolf came back to his house with his arms full of bones, and the little pups were so happy. Yip, 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 Pop's homes, and he's got bones. Back at Granny's house, the word is yodel. When all hope seemed lost, Carmen and Rufus heard an odd noise, sort of a yodel. The sound made Rufus go berserk. And Carmen yanked on the closet door. Yodelay-hee-hoo, yoo-hoo, yodelay-hoo. Who do you think it is? Oh, it's Granny. She's safe. She was in the closet. She said the wolf pushed me in the closet. Goodness, it was stuffy in there. One day you're just headed down the road with no worries, and the next moment you think your granny'd been eaten by a wolf. But just as quickly, voila, here she is, hiding in a closet yodeling, and everything is okay. It's zany. And we come to our Z word, zillion. Granny and Carmen served up the alphabet soup. Rufus had a bone that was left behind by the wolf. Granny reminded Carmen that she had been told a zillion times not to dilly-dally. Carmen said that she would never dawdle again. She gave her Granny the painting she had done, which is like a Georgia O'Keeffe. It's so beautiful. And Granny hung it on the wall with the rest of Carmen's pictures. And she promised, I promise, not to dilly-dally again. Brilliant, a masterpiece, your best work yet. I knew you would like it. Carmen and Rufus zoomed home, and they didn't stop once. That is the end. And at the very last page of the story, Melissa Sweet put in a recipe for Granny's alphabet soup. And yes, it even includes bones. I really enjoyed that story. Thank you so much for joining in and for listening. All right, have a great day. Bye-bye.